Welcome, everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about the overall universal Kabbalistic energy of February 2020, which is being deemed the month of love, ruled by the planets Venus and Saturn. What you're going to find tonight in this discussion is something a little different than maybe what you're used to in terms of the tarot or any sort of card reading. What you'll be finding tonight from this reading is going to be the powers or the energies that overrule the specific astrological signs. And we're going to be using concepts of numerology in order to better understand the energy of this month, and perhaps some of the rules that are involved in terms of us achieving the highest level of harmony that we possibly can. And so, let's just get started. Let's begin. Let's get beginning. February, numerologically, in year 2020, gives us 3 2s. So we look at February being the second month of the year, 2020 giving us 2 plus 2. So you have 2 plus 2 plus 2 gives us 6. That is the energy of Venus. However, it's important to keep in mind that the universe has a birthday as well as us. And the birthday of the universe is the spring equinox, in which it starts its own Kabbalistic cycle for the year. And we're talking about the principles of universal Kabbalah, which also ties into Rosicrucian Kabbalah. And I talk about both of them and take the pieces that I find are most resonant with me, having gone back and charted my entire life every single year up to now almost my 42nd year in March, and discovered that there are great consistencies involved with a specific approach, and that's the approach that I'm giving to you. 42 years of practice brought to you in a short lecture. So as we look at the month of February, the universe is going through its own winter, if you can imagine it. The 4 seasons, and feeling that final season like it would be in New England, where there are no longer leaves on the deciduous trees. If you looked out into the forest interspersed amongst the pines that are evergreens, you would see a barren land which has yet to come to life, but at the same light there's a lot of life still going on. And Saturn reminds us of this time which is reserved for reflection and planning and figuring out how perhaps by the next time we get to this point, next year, we will have done things differently in order for us to benefit more with the gift of the year and the cycles that are involved. So keep that in mind, that Saturn, it is very much involved in teaching self, the teaching of others. It is deeply connected to the earth and agriculture, real estate, and the management of our accounts, including the karmic accounts. So it's not the best time of the year to be starting a relationship, especially if your birthday happens to fall close to the spring equinox. It would be important to receive your own individual Kabbalistic reading to understand how your energies interact with the universal year. But all of this is to say, what you'll get tonight may not apply to everyone, but there will be some consistencies, especially regarding the moon cycles and the overall energy that we're feeling that's surrounding us. This is what we call egregore. It is the energy or the ethos that surrounds us in society, in our family, in our relationships, in our own individual thought cycles. That this egregore is deeply affected by the Kabbalistic cycles, because we are very much like plants. If not very much like plants, we are like bacteria, and bacteria And human beings were the same 650 million years ago. It doesn't sounds like it was ages, right? Well, in comparison to 14.5 billion years of the universe being around that we understand and know, it's not a whole lot of time that we've been around, split off into a cellular organism to become who we are today. So it's to remember our origins. That's why I talk a lot about light. And Saturn is taking into account every single action that has ever occurred by humanity. And it is trying to balance this energy as best as it can so that the people who are ready for the lessons in life will be delivered those lessons, and the people who are not in the mood to go through those things, well, they can forecast how to avoid those things until they're ready. All is to say, both paths are available to you. It's just a matter of which one you choose to take. So I say, for this month, the best approach is to take into perspective the fears that perhaps have existed in your life, especially in the past year, the ones that are fresh. And you can compare them to the fears that have existed your entire life, and you'll find some overlap in that. And then it's to figure out a plan, not perhaps an action plan right now, but a plan, imagining in your mind how you can replace those fears with love. Well, first we have to define love. And why are we talking about love in the month of February if, in fact, the universe is going through its own sort of decay cycle and winter? Well, that's because February 2020 gives us the Venus energy that helps to balance this out a little bit, makes it a little more tolerable to be able to plan things out and to not have so many consequences as before, perhaps, if it were a different energetic year. We're looking at right now 2020 being a year of revolution or evolution or changing of our entire life aspect. Or you could just say winning the jackpot, winning the lottery, should we be open enough and willing to receive such a gift. And that all depends on the mind. That depends on who we want to really become, or that essence of ourselves to bring forth into the forefront and preserve. So when we talk once again about Venus and Saturn, it's the idea of replacing fear with love. And to understand love is to understand oneself very well. It is a lifelong practice, the idea of refining and purifying your approach to loving oneself and loving others. And that's why I want to talk a little bit about the energies specifically. Right now, let's dive into what it means to be connected to Venus. As you can see here, Venus is the planet of love, friendship, artistic expression. I say host a party. These cards are beautiful. They're the Mind of Humanity divining cards that were illustrated by George Sellis. And each and every one is a miniature grimoire in its own self. It will unlock the powers of these planets just by contemplating them and looking at them. I mean, you can come back to this video and pause it and have your meditation go as long as it needs to, looking at these cards and taking in the real meaning of this. And I'll point out a few things, but certainly to even just observe one of these cards and to go over it would take probably 2 hours per card to really thoroughly discuss them and what they mean and the archetypes that are involved. But you can see some of them that make sense to you, I'm sure. You'll also see the numerology involved and the repetition of specific points and numbers all tie in to this specific element of Venus, which represents number 6. So if you're looking at this now on the top right, you see beautiful Cupid trying to hand a flower and say, hey, look, Venus, take a look at this world. See how beautiful it is. And she's saying, well, I'm seeing myself in this mirror. It's the idea of vanity. She's seeing herself as this entertaining value of life. And that's why really, no matter how much you try to show Venus a really hard lesson, it's not going to translate through as well as, say, for Saturn, and which we'll go into in a moment. Venus is more lighthearted. Venus is paying attention to the beauty of life. That's where the focus is, the absolute perfection and the symmetry that is involved in beauty. And of course, there's no greater symmetry than that of the female form, in my opinion. It's so beautifully symmetrical. And at times it has its own idiosyncrasies and little just changes. But those are the things to be appreciated as well. Within them, there are little universes to explore. And speaking of that, you see the cup, which is really the cup of life. You see where it's coming from, and it gives you this beautiful image of the flower of life. And you see the 5-pointed star. It's directly connected to Venus. You can't forget that the center of the star also is a point. So it equals 6. We're looking at this very, very powerful element coming from the sacral chakra. Venus represents sex. There is no surprise here. And it's deeply connected to the sexual bond and the idea of feeling sexual and sensual and beautiful in that light, which is the energy that this planet deeply connects with. We're talking about both male and female aspects of this. That sensuality, I almost said that with a Spanish accent, sensuality is something that is a part of humanity and always will be so long as we're in these crude forms. Better to appreciate when they're sculpted to perfection. And this isn't always going to be the way. Its form is impermanent, and it is to be reminded of the impermanence of life, that the flowers will eventually fade, no matter how much we try to preserve them. If it's to be alive, it is to fade. And to sustain it is for it to no longer be alive. Venus represents life in that way, that it's not permanent. And Saturn reminds us of that more than anything. When we look at Saturn and we see the great hourglass of time, it's to understand that this planet is directly connected to time. And the scythe, which is used to harvest the fields of grain, this planet represents the harvest. It is at the end of winter, whereas the seeds that had fallen during harvest have already buried into the ground and are ready to germinate. And in the same light, Saturn shows us from going way back in the year at the point of harvest that it is to honor the fruit of life. And the fruit of life will come to us, well, throughout the year, especially more in abundance now. We can go to the supermarket and purchase fruit at any time, but before it wasn't so readily available. So you can imagine when something is of rarity and it's not in abundance, it is appreciated more. That is why Saturn is also connected to karma deeply and reminds us that we should be grateful for the moments that we have in our life that are fruitful, and to also be reflective upon these things, these times, these moments, these experiences, to be aware of perhaps how we could do things maybe better the next time around. Just as a gardener would prepare for the spring right now by planting and germinating seeds, Saturn gives us that lesson because we see the fruit of our labor after a long period of time. We come to that point of reaping, literally reaping the benefits. And we must be aware of how we can bring this to perfection as best as we can. That is, in effect, taking the earth's lesson to understand how to burn karma. And the burning of karma is understanding how to read into the future what this fruit is going to be based on our thoughts and actions in the present moment. That is why it is not necessarily a good time to be starting relationships, to be diving into something, because it requires true planning if you want the fruit of your labor to be fulfilling and better than ever. And Saturn wants that more than anything else, because Saturn only wants you to replace your fear with love. And how interesting that we have this beautiful month where Valentine's Day happened yesterday, and Saturn has always been representative of the numbers 6 and 8. We're looking at the 6th planet in the solar system, and it has the number 8 associated with it because of time. If you look over at this again on the top right, that hourglass is a figure 8. If you take that figure 8 and you turn it on its side, it becomes infinity. The infinity symbol and time are one and the same, spinning. That's why when you're waiting for an application like the old Windows operating system, you'd wait for it to process, right? And it was the hourglass spinning. It was as if it were suspended in time, sometimes time moving forward if there were progress, and sometimes waiting. The idea with Saturn is that time should be used for contemplation, to prepare for action. If you look here in the center, or the top center of the planet Saturn, you'll see the hexagonal storm. This is a perfect hexagon, and it's a 6-sided figure. We're looking at this representing the movement of time and the mysteries, the great mysteries of life. Saturn is the teaching planet. It is designed to teach us the mysteries of life. Through our own experience, we discover them. And for each and every one of us, we will find similarities and differences. We find similarities so that we can relate to one another. And we find differences so that we may teach that which is unique through our life experience. That is why Saturn is a beautiful planet. And when many are fearful of Saturn, perhaps they're fearful of change, fearful of the lessons that may come, fearful of karma. Well, guess what? All of that fear needs to be replaced with love. That is Saturn's main goal. And that is why Saturn gifts us the power of perceiving time. The perception of time is a gift. It shows how these flowers eventually fade. It shows that the beauty is to be appreciated from within. And in that way of preserving, it preserves the self by recognizing and witnessing the beauty within. We are preserving the beauty of ourselves. So it's a lot to cover, I know. When you think about today, the 15th of February, we have another 6, and when you add it to the equation of what we have for the year, we receive this beautiful energy of Jupiter. It's an expansive day. Even though the moon is waning right now, don't be fooled by it. Today is an expansive day when it comes to the understanding and perception of love. You can contemplate how you imagine it being in your life. Today is a day, and I know I'm talking about the month of February, but I want you to be cognizant of this being live right now on the 15th of February 2020. It is a day of expansion in replacing fear with love. So really rework that program in your mind. The program that perhaps may have broken down at a specific point in terms of your relationships, your family, friendships, finances, overall ambitions and goals, education, ability to teach, real estate, agriculture. Any fears you may have regarding any of these areas should be recontemplated and reformed in the mind in terms of them being successful. Because Jupiter wants you to have success. Jupiter is in charge of Mount Olympus. We're talking about Zeus here. And Zeus wants to hit you with a bolt of lightning to say you're capable of doing everything, and now retain this power within you and expand. Expand the love for yourself and others. Expand your ability to perceive the universe and time and the opportunity to see the future and know how to plan for it correctly to receive the most fulfilling year of your life. That's what today is telling you. That's what this month is telling you. And we're surrounded by these huge players. When we talk about Saturn and Jupiter and Venus, we're talking about major players here. We're not fooling around. This month is a major month for the reorganization of your highest good and the alignment with fulfilling, life-lasting love. There's no doubt about it. And the best news about this is, it's your choice. In this month of love, you have the absolute final say when it comes to what you want in your life. All you have to do is dream it into reality. So I ask you today, if you haven't done it yet this month, please take the time to dream into reality your perception of love. It can be as quirky and as idiosyncratic as you need it to be. It's all about you. This is your time to decide how you want it to be. Without listening to anybody else's interference, this is your time. It's given to you in this moment to write it down, to take it into perspective, to imagine the details all the way through this year until New Year's Eve, when you're like this and you're kissing the person that you imagined coming into your life, realized in all of the beauty that you can imagine perceiving and experiencing with this beautiful person in your life. Allow yourself the opportunity to have this now, because this is the power of Kabbalah. We're not talking about astrological signs, because they're small players in comparison to the Kabbalistic energy that exists in this month. I'm not saying this to offend anyone. I'm saying this to make people aware that there's a specific hierarchy. The way the hierarchy is 12 astrological signs, 7 creative planets, the masculine, the feminine, and the spirit. And before you reach the masculine, the feminine, and the spirit, that triune perfection, you have this beautiful operating or operator that is called Metatron. And this operator, Metatron, along with Raziel, are these two amazing angels that are saying, listen, who do you want us to connect you with? What is it that you need? Do you need physical healing, emotional, spiritual healing? Do you need connection with your family? Do you need abundance? Are you looking for wisdom? Are you looking for the answers when you just don't know? Well, these angels are part of 7 incredibly powerful archangels, a system of archangels that have specific frequencies, and they are at the ready, waiting your call, saying, what is it that you need? And when you have Saturn and Venus and Jupiter, say it Jupiter. It's even more powerful in the Latin way. When you have these 3 energies that are aligned today saying, hey, listen, we've got your back. Tell us what it is that you need in this month. Regardless if the moon is waning or waxing, we've got you. We've got the majority vote here. Tell us what it is that you would like to materialize, and we're going to make this happen. We're bringing it into your life now. Get ready. Get ready to experience a year of love beyond anything that you could possibly perceive, but try to perceive it. Give us a little bit of these details. And if you're looking for healing in the other ways that I mentioned, or wisdom or abundance, then make the call. We're going to bring it in. We're going to bring it in right now. That's why Raziel is here, and that's why Metatron is here, to connect you with these specific lines. It's like going to Google and typing in what you need, and the information comes in a specific page. Those pages are hosted by the archangels. To link and connect yourself with the triune. We're talking your soulmate and the spirit that is linked between the two of you and has been for lives and lives in the past. Think about how powerful this month is. We've gone over it. Isn't it not inspiring to you? If not, let's dive into one more aspect of things. I am that I am. This is and seeing the angelic highest good connected with the source of light, the origin of all things in this universe. So take this moment to recognize that dream that you have in your mind of where you are with the person that you love, with the abundance that you know you deserve and is coming to you and is with you, with the connections to family that you're desiring. They are with you. With the perfect health that you need to sustain you for even more years than you possibly could imagine, being with you. And the idea of the actions that you take being of incredible service to the people in your community, in your egregore, in your ethos. Permeating. I am that. I am. And bringing it to light. I am that. I am, and I'm grateful knowing I'm exactly where I need to be. This powerful mantra reflects key components of the seeds of life, the seeds of consciousness, the seeds of spiritual self, and the connection through the breath. See how it says offer and accept help from others? Say thank you. That's all you have to do, is just be grateful when these things are happening. Pause for a moment and say, oh my God, this is actually happening, and just be grateful. It's such a good feeling. It's such a good feeling. When it's finally happening, you can say, oh my God, here it is. This is my moment to pay homage to the beautiful dream coming true, and enjoy it. That's what I can say to you. Enjoy it. So let's take this in. What you're looking at is the mantra. Behind this is the sun. You can see it peeking through, can't you? This is the first step of Shift 108 meditation. It's going to connect you with the earth energy. That's where everyone needs to begin. Anytime you plant the seed or plant any seed in life, you need to start with the earth. So as we look at these beautiful celestial symbols from the celestial alphabet that spell out, I am that I am, you are activating a part of yourself that goes back multiple lives. Multiple lives and experiences charting through the DNA of your existence, this incredible recording medium called DNA. And you are accessing some part that has been stuck in the cobwebs for a long time to say, this is what I really am. This is my year. This is what I imagine being happiness. I am that. I am. And it's realized. Your service to people, your abundance, your physical healing, your spiritual, emotional awakening, your kundalini rising, your chakras open and exploding with light, your highest good high-fiving you from the other side of this beautiful mirror, the philosopher's stone floating above, activating your crown and third eye, just giving you goodness. That's what this is. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. And anytime you have doubts, recognize them and then shift it. Shift the perspective to the entrance point where you change your life. 108 has to do with the earth. 108 beads on a mala for which you need to go through and process. All you need to do is offer light, the origin of all things, and then move on to the next bead until you get to the end. And that 109th bead is your seed. Kabbalistically, it is your way and time to receive what you deserve for all of your beautiful hard work. Do not feel any more guilt. That stuff doesn't serve. Believe that the people that you're going to speak with are going to embrace and love you, and they do. Believe this. That's all you're going to receive when you reach out. That's what this month is all about. It's the month of love. It is your time to reach out and seize and captivate and capture the idea and image of love in its greatest fulfillment in your life, better than it's ever been. This is the month to make that declaration. Take advantage of the opportunity. Celebrate. Make friendships. Go see a concert. Go to a museum. Appreciate the creation of art. Be connected with the earth. Ground yourself. Heal yourself. Connect. Be joyful. Be sensual. Connect with the beauty that is you. Say thank you when it's appreciated. Compliment others on their beauty. Give them a kiss. Give them a hug. Give them all the ways that you know how to love. It's all beautiful expression of self. Be mindful of the patterns that have existed in the past. If your time, your birthday, falls in line with the universal birthday at the spring equinox, be contemplative of your actions. Understand that Venus is here to support you, but really plan out how this fruit is going to serve you come harvest this year. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for being a part of this. I hope you found it useful. If you have, please do click subscribe. Please pass this along so we can watch this channel grow, just as we're talking about seeds today. I would love nothing more than to see this fall into the hands of more people so they can seize the opportunity to bring the greatest, most fulfilling life and love into their life in 2020. Help make that happen. Find yourself discovering the joy in service to others. Thank you for watching. Om Sai Ram. Have a wonderful evening.